folks, Captain Mikey, Sawgrass Fishing Charters out here in the beautiful Florida Everglades. Guys, it's June 1st today, and that means one thing. It's the end of the contest. Tonight, officially at midnight, we will close all the ballots. No more subscriptions will count towards the contest, but don't worry, I'm sure if you don't win, I'm sure there's going to be another contest coming up shortly. Because you guys helped me out a lot. I saw my subscriptions skyrocket. We got a long way to go for where we really want to be, but I can't thank you guys enough. Each and every one of you guys that subscribed, you liked, you commented, you did everything that you can, and guys, I appreciate it so much. I have a blast going through all those comments. I'm going to do my very best to try to make a video out of each and every one of those guys. I do promise you that. And definitely stay subscribed. Keep on liking, keep on watching, and keep on commenting, because there's going to be more giveaways coming. I promise you that. Well, now it always takes a day or two before all the subscriptions come in. So the contest will close at midnight tonight on Wednesday, June 1st. Now, we won't do the drawing for a couple days after that to make sure that all the emails and everything had gotten into place. Give everybody that fair shot. As long as you get that subscription in by midnight tonight, June 1st, you're going to still qualify for the contest, guys. But we'll do the drawing. The actual drawing is scheduled for June 4th. On June 4th, and then probably give me another day and that video will be out and we'll announce the big winner. All right, guys. So today, we're going to take a few moments and I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about a bait caster. How to adjust it, how to tune it, how to cast it, and take away any fears that you might have on them. Bait casters can be pretty intimidating. I do know that. Anybody that picked one of these up and they got that first backlash on their first or second cast, they probably put it down, picked up their spinning rod, and said, I'm done with the bait caster altogether. I prefer spinning equipment. Anybody that tells me I prefer spinning equipment over bait casting equipment, I can almost guarantee is because they do not know how to properly use a bait caster. Once you fine-tune your skills, once you hone it down, it's my go-to every single time. Now, there's many varieties of bait casters out there on the market, but realistically, when you boil it down, there's only 3 different methods of adjusting them. There's 3 different braking systems that you'll tend to see on all these out here, and I'm going to try to go over each one of them with you guys so you know how to properly do it. Before you do anything with a bait caster, the first thing you need to do is adjust it. Adjust it properly to the weight of the line, to the weight of the lure, to the conditions that you're fishing out there, and just to your comfort level more than anything. Now, there's 3 things you want to consider when you are adjusting them. Most bait casters out there only have 2, maybe 3 different braking systems on them. And the braking systems, what they are, that controls the speed of the spool, how fast that spins on the release of the cast, as well as when the lure hits into the water and the momentum slows, it's got to be able to break that and adjust it so that line doesn't keep spinning over top of each other, and that creates that dreaded backlash. When you're adjusting a bait caster, the very first thing you want to do, of course, is tie on some form of a lure, tie on some sort of a weight, so you got it, and then you're going to want to adjust that rod to it. There are 2 braking systems on this one in particular. This is the most common style you see. Of course, this is an Ardent Apex Pro. Ardent reels are fantastic reels out there. They are one of my sponsors. I got to give a shout out to them every single time. But if you're looking for a great reel and you don't want to break your pocketbook, check out Ardent. I promise you, you're going to love them. Ardent, rule the water. All right. Now, but on every single bait caster, just inside of your spool, or your handle here, you'll notice this little knob. That little knob is on every bait caster and it's always located right at that same spot. That's called your centrifugal brake. The centrifugal brake is a very easily adjustable knob. By turning it one way or another, it'll tighten the brakes on the spool, or it'll loosen the brakes on the spool. Now that is almost, wherever you set that to, that's the way it's going to be the entire cast. It doesn't adjust itself. It stays at that level. And it's a sensitive little knob. But it's mostly geared towards the initial cast. When you first let that lure fly, that's the speed it's going to let that spool spin at. So the easiest way to adjust that is reel your lure or your weight right up to the top. Click on your little handle here to drop it, and you want to adjust this. First, tighten it all the way up, and you'll see when I click on this, my line doesn't move. It doesn't go anywhere because the brakes are actually that tight right now. Start slowly backing it off. Just keep it working until you see that weight just begin to drop. All right? You want it to just barely drop. As you get more proficient and you more used to them, you can adjust that even looser so you can cast greater distances. But right now, accuracy is the most important thing. Don't worry about your distance or your power. That'll come with time. So again, reel it right back up to the top, click it, nice smooth drop. It comes out nice and easy. You got that properly adjusted. If it's spinning too fast, tighten it up a little bit. If it's not spinning fast enough, let it off a little bit. Pretty simple that way. That's the first thing you always adjust on a baitcaster. Now the second thing is on the other side. And this particular ardent reel has a magnetic brake system. And magnetic brake systems are a dial that'll go anywhere from 1 to 10 generally out there. All right, now when you're first getting started with your baitcast systems and getting used to it, I recommend cranking that right up to either the max or just close to that. Now, the magnetic brake system is actually what's going to stop the momentum of that lure. So when you imagine this, when you cast out, all that speed is built up and that spool's spinning, and when that lure hits the water, the energy stops. But the spool doesn't unless you have your brake system set on there. Okay? So if you have that set up nice and tight, again, as that lure crashes into the water, it's going to apply the brakes and slow it down so it doesn't overspin, underspin, and create that backlash. All right, casting is very, very important in how you do that. We'll get into that after all this. But that's to adjust a baitcaster, that's exactly what you got to look at first. First, adjust the centrifugal so your weight just begins to release and slowly slides down. Second, crank over your magnetic system. Now there's a third braking system that this reel doesn't have on it, or certain reel systems do have it on it, and that's where it's called a pin system, and that's where you take this entire faceplate off and you'll see a number of pins, usually red pins all the way around in a circle. I think there's 8 of them, 6 or 8 of them anyway, and those pins, by clicking them in or out, adjust those brakes. It adds the brakes. By pulling one of those pins out, that put that brake on. So when you want to, if you have a system like that, I recommend when you're first starting out to have anywhere between 3 and 4 brakes on there, probably 4 brakes to start out. That's 4 different pins that you want to have pulled out. If they're in, they're not on. If they're out, they're active out there, okay? And that system, a pin system, is active through the entire cast, okay? It doesn't act on the end or the beginning. The entire cast is always doing that. As you get better and more with your reel and more used to it, you can start clicking some of those pins off. But again, when you're starting, start with 4. And make sure you do it in a crisscross pattern. Don't click the pins 1, 2, 3, and 4 all on one side. Okay, then all your brakes are on one side. It's an uneven wobble out there. So click the first one out on one side and then go directly across to the opposite side. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So on and so forth like that. And again, as you get better and you get more used to that reel, you can start slowly clicking those back to the point where you only have 2 or even 1 of those on. Some of us got so used to it, we don't even put those on at all out there. I generally use about 2. That's about my level out there. So those are the 3 braking systems. Centrifugal on every single one, no matter what. All the other reels, they're either going to have a magnetic brake system like this, the dial, or the pin system, which is located inside of this shield here out there. Okay, now just check it out, see which reel you end up getting, and then try to adjust it first. But again, adjust centrifugal, adjust your magnetic, and then you're ready to start learning how to cast. All right, guys, so now we got our baitcaster properly adjusted and tuned for the weight that we're using and the line we're using by adjusting that centrifugal first and then our magnetic second out there. And now you can see it a little clearer on the camera. Once I click onto that reel, my weight comes down. One thing you want to see on there, so you know you've got it proper, you know it drops at the right speed, so your centrifugal is right. If you drop it straight to the ground, and when it hits the ground, you get a bunch of backlash, adjust your magnetic one. All right, tighten it up a little bit. You don't have it tight enough. A little bit is fine. You're going to see that almost every single time no matter what. But if you see too much of that line spooling over top of each other, that's because you don't have enough magnetic brake on the end. As it lost that momentum when it hit, that energy when it hit the ground out there, that spool kept spinning. So what I'm going to do, tighten it right up. That's your second step. So now you have a properly adjusted bait caster. So what we're going to do when we're talking about casting a bait caster, you got to remember a certain thing. As I said earlier, accuracy is the most important thing, by far. Don't worry about whipping this thing as far as you can, because all you're going to end up doing is casting as hard as you can, creating a huge backlash and ruining your day, ruining your attitude towards bait casters, putting it down, pick it up, you're spinning around again. Don't worry about distance, that will come. Accuracy is the key anyway. That's what you really want to do. So when you're casting a bait caster, what you want to do is you want to have it directly in front of you. You want to cast straight forward. You don't want to have that rod coming way back over your head, because you've got no control now. It goes side to side, you don't know exactly where it's going. To have an accurate, proper cast, have that directly in front of you and just flick your wrist, okay? In about the 10 to 12 area out there. That's it, just a simple flick of the wrist. And then you cast out there. And as you see, you always got a thumb available to be able to thumb that spool. You're going to do that no matter how properly adjusted it is. You're going to want to keep your thumb right on top of that spool, feathering it. That's where you get your accuracy from. If you gave it a little too much power, you cast it a little farther, you'd be very surprised how far you can cast these sometimes. You cast it a little bit too far, you realize it's going to go into the tree or into the bush, start breaking it with your thumb. Some issue to backlashes is the release on the cast, okay? If you release way too high, say you released at around 11 o'clock, somewhere in that range, and you'll notice that line goes way up in the air and then comes way down, right? That gains so much momentum when it comes back down, that lure, the spool had already started slowing down on the way up, and then it's got to speed up, and then hits the water with a heavier force, and it creates that backlash out there. So your release point is very important. If you're releasing too early, it goes way up in the air, and then you got to stop it with your thumb no matter what. So you want to release it right about that 10 o'clock. You'll get used to it. The more practice that you got, you know exactly. So it's got that nice straight line to it out there. If you release too late, that results in a massive backlash that you hate. That will definitely ruin your day. You're gonna be, it's gonna ruin your day if you release too late. Because what it's gonna do, it's gonna crash that lure right into that water. I release too late, it comes down straight, smashes into the water, all that momentum stops immediately, and that reel cannot keep up to it. It spins, overspins, bird's nest. Your day's done. So casting is very important, but it's the accuracy. And the way you get the accuracy is by your proper release and your proper casting methods. I want to put that rod right in front of me, straight up to about 12 o'clock, and I'm going to release about 10 o'clock. Alright? If I release at 9 o'clock, it's probably going to crash down in the water. If I release at 11 o'clock, it's probably going to go straight up in the air and then create a different momentum altogether. So again, about 12 o'clock to 10 o'clock, let it go. You got it. I cannot stress enough how important it is to hone in on your accuracy over top of your power or your distance out there. Though distance and power will come, folks, but if you're not accurate, you're not going to catch the bass. That's just the way it is. Practice, practice, practice. I know I sound like a teacher and a preacher out here, but it's the truth. I practice almost daily. If I'm not on the water, I'm in my backyard, spend a half hour to an hour every day casting that object. So what I do, I'd practice at home. I practice in my yard. When I first started, I started with bigger objects like big 5-gallon drums, tires, anything like that, a large object to cast at, and I would go 15 times until I could hit it 15 times in a row. Over and over again, just keep going until I can hit that 15 times in a row. And as time went on, I got better and better, and I started downsizing my targets to the point where now I'm looking at maybe a Coke can or even a cup. I'll do some pitching and flipping trying to get it directly into a small cup. It's amazing how accurate you can get when you do know what you're doing with a bait caster. Adjust your centrifugal, adjust your magnetic so it doesn't spool up. Thumb onto your spool every single time. Cast directly in front of you, 12 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Let it release. Thumb it to stop it. And reel it in. Folks, once you got this down, once you're good at this, I guarantee you're going to have so much more fun on the water. You're going to love your bait casters, and you're going to catch a ton more fish. Go get a bait caster. Check out Ardent Reels. I promise you're going to have a great time. One last time, guys. Captain Mikey from the Florida Everglades checking out on you. The future is bright. Keep those lines tight.